Welcome back to another installment of the Observatory with Reuben and Collin. We have a whole number of stories to talk about today, very important, that have gone on throughout the week. But first, a message from one of our newest partners, the Bolshevik Watch Company.
Before we get started, here is a short message from our newest sponsor, the Bolshevik Watch Company. Bolshevik watches are made from the only components available and are assembled by our technicians, bringing you unique and timeless timepieces. Own a piece of history, precision, power, legacy. So remember, Bolshevik watches, time to revolt.
We'd like to ask you to subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up. It really helps us.
Well, this week has been unprecedented once again here, as Secretary of Defense here, Pete Hegseth, continues to dodge questions about Venezuelan boat strikes, and it continues to get more complicated as things are going on right now. Every single day leads to new questions, new answers. We now have second strikes, actual survivors being targeted, and the government is currently just dodging all the questions around it. Right now they're saying Secretary Hegseth was not actually privy to that second thing. But however, you know, he is come out and said that the admiral that did actually authorize that strike was completely within his right to do so. So, I mean, what are we looking at right now with regard to, I mean, these boat strikes?
What we're looking at, this was a strike that happened on September 2nd. And right now, what they're doing is they're trying to cover Pete Hegseth's ass.
So it would seem.
It basically comes down to somebody's got to be the fall guy, and it's looking like they're blaming Admiral Frank Mitchell Bradley. We would have never known about this strike had it not been for a leak reported by the Washington Post. Washington Post said they got a leak from somebody inside the Defense Department, which means whoever leaked this must have known that this strike, there was nothing good about the strike. There was nothing legal about it, so they leaked it to the Washington Post. And basically, here's how it went down. There was a strike on an alleged drug trafficking boat. You see the first strike, and you see the boat get destroyed. It's on fire. They see two survivors clinging to the boat, and then they order the second strike, or what they're calling a double tap. Now, what happens in war, which we are not at war with Venezuela, but what happens in war, there's a term called hors de combat. It's a French term. And it means a combatant who is unable to fight due to injury, capture, or incapacitation, which in this case, they're clinging to a boat on fire after...
Literally clinging to the side of the boat, hanging off in the water. Yeah.
On fire, in the middle of the ocean, which means they were no threat to anyone. That boat was no threat to anyone, yet a second strike, or a double tap as they're calling it, was ordered. Now, at that point, these two men were protected from further attack, and meaning they should have been given quarter under Article 119 of the UCMJ. But Hegseth ordered another attack, and his words, kill them all, directly on these two men. Again, known as a double tap. Now,
he's also doubled down on the fact that he does want to continue these strikes despite how many people are bringing up issue with it. And so to also have the double tap method being used like that.
And the fact that this, they're calling it a war crime, Collin, but it's not a war crime because we are not officially in a war with Venezuela. So this was basically murder. It was murder. And this was even bolstered by a group of Judge Advocates General, or JAGs as we all know them.
Right.
They unanimously concluded that this was a war crime, but it was murder.
I think it might be a prelude, though, to a war crime, considering that, I mean, President Trump just came out today and said that, okay, strikes on land are imminent, not just for Venezuela, but for any countries that pose an imminent threat to the United States. Came out and said we will be taking out land strikes now. So that's not a declaration of war. Congress has not had any say in that, obviously.
And they haven't yet.
And they haven't needed to yet for all these strikes to actually be carried out. So when you see something like that, is it an act of war? What is the United States government looking at? Obviously, we know that in the international accords, it's technically not war. War has not been declared. But I mean, if I was had a boat that was bombed and then another one and then another one, now 21 strikes that have been taken out, 83 lives confirmed to be lost, including the 2 survivors hanging onto the side of that boat for dear life. How far away are we from it being, truly considered an act of war? We condemn so many other countries around the country, around the entire world, right? For that,
right on the head.
Then we can just go out and just say, oh no, they're bringing cocaine.
If this was another country, the United States would be up in arms. They would be going crazy over this. And
imagine Venezuela bombs a boat off their coast,
right,
coming in with anything.
And it's not. It hasn't been proven yet that these boats are carrying drugs. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. A drug trafficker should be stopped. I have no problem with a drug trafficker, whether
we're in agreement there.
Or land. Yes, they should be stopped. But again, Donald Trump and this administration is just going hog wild, and they're like a rabid dog off the chain. They're just doing whatever they want, and Congress is not standing up and saying, wait a minute, there's a way to do things and there's a way to not do things. They just haven't done anything yet, which gives him this false confidence that, hey, I can do whatever I want. I'm the president.
Is it false confidence, though? Because he hasn't really been checked yet. It might just be confidence that he's just gained. Is it false?
Corrected.
Or,
it's just
but,
this crazy confidence.
It begs the question. I mean, he's looked at all, he's been checked a million times without any issue. He's gotten through multiple impeachments. I mean, what is going to hold Donald Trump down from what he wants to accomplish?
At this point, it doesn't seem like anything.
And one of the things you brought up was that leak that came out from Hegseth. This is not the first leak that has come from Pete Hegseth and the current administration, specifically talking about strikes, not as it goes to Venezuelan, but they were talking about international and Middle Eastern strikes. But now you got another leak from an anonymous source. It's not screenshots of a chat, but
nope. And
again, what are we doing here?
And again, because it was a leak from inside, whoever that person or persons is or are, they knew that this strike wasn't legit, and it had to be brought to light. And it just goes back to Admiral Alvin Halsey. He was the commander of the Southern Command. He
authorized that second strike.
No.
Right?
This was, you're talking about Admiral Frank Bradley. I'm talking about the prior Southern Command commander. He left because he knew something wasn't right.
Did he leave on September 2nd? Was it the same?
No.
That might have been Bradley as well.
No, Bradley is current. Halsey is the one that was in command before all this went down.
And someone withdrew. I believe it was Halsey who...
It was Halsey who withdrew his command because he knew he didn't want to be a part of this. So he withdrew his command. So that's where we are with this whole thing. And, today Pete Hegseth said, he witnessed the first strike, but then, being the Secretary of War, as he calls it, his schedule was so busy, he left to attend another meeting, which is bullshit, because in an earlier interview with Fox News a few weeks ago, he said he watched it live. He never said, I watched the first strike and then I, stepped away and I didn't see the second strike. So he's lying.
It's funny how much Fox kind of catches them every single time, because they like to spout off, and then 3 weeks later the truth comes out.
Yeah.
They can't backtrack it because it's already on cable.
And he's just like Trump. There's always something that happened in the past that contradicts what he says now. Yeah. So now Hegseth is...
honestly, I do truly believe that Hegseth had 100% to do with that
absolutely.
Second strike. There's no doubt in my mind that he came out and was in complete agreement. That he did not know is wild. That would be unprecedented, considering how involved he has made himself in day-to-day affairs.
His quote, Colin, "Kill them all." That was his quote. So
getting his wish, it seems like, and now he's just trying to cower behind that.
He's cowering behind that, and they're going to throw this guy, Admiral Frank Bradley, under the bus. Frank Mitchell Bradley. And rightly so or not, this guy Bradley should have known that this was an illegal order, and he should have refused.
He still authorized it, but the craziest thing is that, for me, Hegseth has now come out and said that he had full authorization to issue that second strike, even if Hegseth says he wasn't aware of it, which is, again, bullshit. We know that. He was aware. He's aware of everything that's going on with that. He said that man, right, did have full authorization.
But
so
they're throwing him under the bus.
you throw him under the bus all you want, you're still his boss.
Yeah.
Right? If I have a bad interaction at work and my boss, says that's fine, okay, then they make a bad review on the entire business. That comes back to the manager who's running the entire staff. That is what Pete Hegseth is right now, and he's not doing a really thorough job. It just seems like it's just patchwork of trying to cover his butt at this point.
They're calling it Protect Pete.
Protect Pete. There you go.
Yeah.
I say we don't protect Pete, but that's just me. And then we go to shifting to another story here.
Yep.
Obviously, that's very important, and that's going to be something that's going to be coming up in the next week or so. I would imagine we're going to have a lot of advancements on these Venezuelan strikes.
It's going to be in a news cycle for a while.
And we'll be back next week to talk about that as well. But
yes.
I mean, we also do have a whole big piece of news with the Capitol shootings that did take place last week,
Yes.
Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving,
November 26th.
And unfortunately, we did lose a member of our service, National Guard, Sarah Beckstrom, 20 years old. Shot in the head, succumbed to her injuries the next day on Thanksgiving. And then you also have 24-year-old. That's going to be Andrew Wolf, and he was also shot in the head. We got some good updates today. Wiggled his toes a little bit. He gave a thumbs up to the nurse who was asking him a question.
That's awesome.
But still, you see the senseless violence, and now the government is obviously making a very strong push, and they are maybe not going about it in the way that we would hope. Donald Trump announcing a full migration ban on countries he deems to be high risk, right? And the shooter coming from Afghanistan, but he's also talking about some other countries as well in there. Not Afghanistan, nothing to do with anything with this shooting. The shooter also had worked with CIA. He was relocated by the U.S. government into the United States. What the heck? I mean, this is kind of hard to decipher where to even start, because you have someone who's coming, yes, they are radicalized. You have members of the U.S. government who relocated. You have members of the U.S. government that have been helping their families and helping reassimilate them in Washington State. And now you've got two service members dead. You've got, this man in custody. How do you even go about that? They're saying that there might be some kind of aspects of PTSD, potentially starting from his service in Afghanistan with the CIA. Former police officer. What do you see from this particular instance?
That's interesting. But before I go into that, I want to mention her name: 20-year-old specialist Sarah Beckstrom, and also 24-year-old Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. Tragic. She died as a result of the shooting, and he's in critical condition fighting for his life. But as you mentioned earlier, he's coming along. So let's hope that
and we hope that stays positive. Obviously, I mean, today was a very positive start.
Right.
But I mean, we're talking about wiggling toes and giving thumbs up. We just hope that he can get back to where he was at.
Yes. Now, going back to what you said about the PTSD for this Afghan national, Ramanullah Lakhanwal, worked with the CIA over in Afghanistan. He was brought here because of his work with the CIA, he and his family. And at some point, he obviously became radicalized for whatever reason, whether it was the PTSD that he was suffering or other things. Yeah. PTSD, I would definitely say, is a factor. I'm not excusing or rationalizing what this guy did. And in my prior, career, I can totally understand, the PTSD, because it depends on what you've seen and done, as a former CIA, I don't want to use the word operative, but, a CIA assistant. to the agents on the ground or the operatives on the ground, or, as being law enforcement, the things that you can see every day, or, you're just sitting in your patrol car and something happens and you go from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds, and you got to be ready because anything can happen. And over time, depending upon where you work,
high-tension situations.
High-tension situations, the worst situations that you can see with people, it does take a toll on you. And if you don't recognize it and deal with it, it can lead to things like this. That's the sad part. And what makes it even worse with this guy, there are people in place in our government who monitor people like this, who can see, if they're having struggles mentally and emotionally, and they would be able to provide care for them or give them assistance to help them get through it. Unfortunately, because of all the government cuts, people like this are not currently employed in the government. They've been cut because of all the government cuts. It could have been from Doge or whatever, but these people are not available right now.
And one of the members, it's funny you say that too, not funny, haha, but the fact of the matter is, where this guy, the organization that was working with him in Washington, did identify him as someone who was withdrawn. He was all of a sudden not hanging out with his daughters, with his wife. He was hanging out in his room a lot, and then all of a sudden he makes this long journey across from Washington, literally from Washington to Washington, from state to D.C. And it's wild to see. There were red flags. They did give red flags, but then again, given government cuts, there's not necessarily the people there to receive those red flags and do anything about it. They've, a person dead, another person shot in the head, both under the age of 25 years old, which is crazy. And then, on the travel ban that's coming from this now, which of course the government, we know, this current administration, they will capitalize on any kind of act of violence and make it, their benefit. You've got people like Kristi Noem now that are calling migrants entitlement junkies. You've got a government that is saying that they're flooding our nation with killers, leeches, entitlement junkies. It's crazy. And it's not necessarily what's actually going on. You've got one person who was much like Osama bin Laden, much like so many other people in the Middle East, in Northern Africa, in Asia, that were funded by the U.S. government, supported by the U.S. government, radicalized by the U.S. government, withdrawn by the U.S. government, and then lost support and turned against the U.S. government. They go straight to D.C. This is clearly a government-targeted act. They could have shot anyone in Washington State.
Yep.
Traveled all the way to D.C. to take out 2 service members. At the end of the day, this is a story that we've seen over and over and over again. It's a story we've seen lead to wars over and over and over again from United States diplomacy,
and what
quote unquote.
But what makes it even worse, talk about, not having the proper people in place to address this person's issues, and, possibly could have helped this guy. The Trump administration is trying to make this political because their first reaction was, thanks Joe Biden for letting this guy in. What people don't understand or what people don't realize is this guy was vetted by the DOJ and the FBI, and he was given permanent asylum by the Trump administration in April of this year. But still, they point the finger at Joe Biden. Thanks for letting him in and this, that, and the other. And that just leads me to another female reporter asked Donald Trump about this guy. And when he tried to blame it on Joe Biden, she said, this guy was successfully vetted by the DOJ and the FBI. How can you say, or how can you blame Joe Biden? And
he'll find a way.
His words, because they let them in. And he held up this goofy picture of a bunch of the Afghan escapees on a plane. Because he let them in. They came in on a big plane. And he let them in.
The biggest.
And he let them in. But she said, again, the FBI and the DOJ successfully vetted this guy. And he turns to her and he says, you're just asking questions because you're stupid. Are you stupid? Why are you asking these questions? You're asking these questions because you're stupid. That's how he reacts when he gets called on his BS or he gets painted into a corner.
When he feels stupid.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I mean, when you think about it too, this guy, I don't care who let him in, whether it came in under Trump's presidency this year, which it did, Biden's the previous 4 years, Trump's the previous 4 years, Obama the previous 8, George W. Bush the previous 8 before that, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, right, through all of those presidencies, we did support people that were radicalized in other territories. They did support the U.S. in operations that we believed were truly panned out to be important, right? Right, Osama's dead. That came out to fruition. And all of a sudden, now they're going to blame them because it happened now. It happened a year after, a year plus after Biden was out of office. It could have happened when Obama was in office, or George W. Bush, or Trump the first time. It doesn't matter when they were let in. The fact of the matter is, if they're vetted by the FBI, there's a reason they're vetted by the FBI. That should be our national security.
Yep.
And so I don't think there's any way you can assign blame to a specific president or a specific administration.
Well,
because
that's what Trump does.
Well, that's what the whole current... Both parties. I'm going to go right at both parties for that. You can go after Donald Trump, the Republicans, the Democrats, and any independent. They are going to be targeting
There's a lot of this going on.
Yeah,
right now.
I think of the Spider-Man joke where there's 3 Spider-Men all pointing at each other and nothing going on because they're trying to figure out their identities. And that's what we're looking at in our government. That's our law and order. It's absolutely mind-boggling right now, the fact that these people continue to be elected. And obviously we've seen now some of Trump's supporters get out. I mean, there are some people that are saying that
MAGA is starting to crumble.
It is crumbling right at the foundation right now.
And just one other thing I wanted to mention about this shooting, which is absolutely appalling. A reporter asked Trump, "Are you going to go to the funeral for Sarah Beckstrom?" And he said, "It's something I could do, maybe, possibly, but I love the people of Kentucky. The people of Kentucky love me. I won Kentucky by, I forget how many points he said, but he immediately turned it into something for himself, not for this poor young woman who they should have never been there in the first place, Collin. They were there under some false flag reason or whatever. They weren't meant to be there. They should not have been there. They got to a point, Collin, where they were cleaning up parks and doing landscaping. This girl's boyfriend said she was unhappy being there, and she said she shouldn't be there. And now she's not anywhere. She's gone. Again, the shooter is solely to blame, but the Trump administration put these soldiers there, and he has them in other cities. And I'm just terrified.
It's not slowing. He's adding more cities every single chance he gets. The spread just keeps on going. And also, that's a very it's a contrast in terms of the reaction, considering a very white conservative political activist was just shot a few weeks ago. And that sparked a very, very big reaction from the Trump administration, as opposed to just Kentucky loves me. I love Kentucky. I'm not gonna. I can't reach it.
And they honored that guy. They lowered the flags to half staff.
Yep.
And
not for this though, did they?
They're pushing for. I don't want to say his name, but they're pushing for a Charlie Kirk Day. This woman, again, 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom, serving in the military, gets killed in the line of duty. And where's the tribute to her? Where is the respect that should be shown to her?
It's not there because politically it does not benefit the current administration. I mean, let's be real, right? Every single thing that has gone wrong, whether we talk about school shootings, which are horrible, other mass shootings that have gone on now, right? Bombings that have gone on now, unless it benefits the current power, and again, I'm not going to just talk about the Trump administration here. Again, the Biden administration, the Democratic Party have talked out against school shootings, but at the end of the day, most of them are backed by the NRA, the same way as the Republicans are, which is why nothing has happened. You see shooting after shooting after shooting. It just seems like it has to be politically beneficial to the party in power in order for it to matter. Otherwise, okay, yeah, some people die. That's sad. That's all that matters. And
like you said,
done.
This isn't getting smaller. Hegseth is bragging about Trump ordered him to deploy 500 additional troops in D.C. Yeah. They're in Chicago now.
Hegseth is just worried that our military is too gay at the current moment. But I mean, that's
or they're wearing facial hair, and they shouldn't. Or they should be in shape.
Hey, I shaved. It's okay. Yeah.
And he's talking about
crazy.
The troops need to be in shape and all that stuff. But look at the commander-in-chief. McDonald's.
He won't even tell you what part of his body got an MRI last week.
And how does one not know that? In
the past, he used to yell about Biden, shouting from the rafters, oh, he won't release his medical records, he won't release his tax records. All right, well, we haven't seen Donald Trump's tax records, we haven't seen Donald Trump's medical records.
They're still being audited. His tax records are still being audited. You got to remember that. And
fair enough. That's not a good sign, but it's a good point.
He told the reporter the other day, if you want my results from my MRI, I'll release them, which everybody knows he's not going to do that.
Like the Epstein files after how many years, right?
I am glad you said that because think about all of this stuff happening now. They're attacking these alleged Venezuelan, drug traffickers, and just blowing them right out of the water. You do not send the most powerful and dangerous aircraft carrier and its battle group
to the coast,
to somewhere like Venezuela.
Gotcha right there.
We could take Venezuela. You send a couple of divisions, and if you don't know how many people are in a division, please look it up. We could send a couple of divisions, maybe one, and take Venezuela like that. He's sending an entire supercarrier battle group. Now, if he was so confused, if he was so concerned about drugs coming into this country, why did he pardon the ex-Honduran president? Why did he pardon Juan Orlando?
Probably got a nice vacation. If you have to guess. But I mean, also okay, considering we're talking about right here off the coast of northern South America right there, I consider it very similar to when Hitler had all of his U-boats, all the German U-boats right in here in the North Atlantic, and America was not in the war yet, right? Nope. And we still had boats being sunk. Britain could not get boats around the coast to any of their allies, right? It's the same thing. It starts off as, okay, we're not aggressive, but we're here. Okay, now you can't do anything. We're still here. And to your point, in Venezuela right now, we have the exact same thing taking place. We have a boat, an aircraft carrier, right off the coast right now. It's the same thing as saying, okay, we're not a threat, but we're here. We're not going to be aggressive, but we're still here. And now all of a sudden, we're aggressive. There are bombings taking place over and over again. 21 bombings for certain right now that we know of.
And mention again how many people died because of this?
83 people.
Ridiculous. Now, here's the thing. People are saying that he sent that supercarrier battle group there to intimidate Maduro. But think about this, Collin. Why do you need to do something like that to intimidate Maduro? Trump doesn't care about the drugs coming into this country. Think about this. Venezuela has this ridiculous oil reserve. So, I think Trump is going to try to either start a war with Maduro, or he's going to push him and intimidate him to the point where he says, okay, we will back off, we will pull our Navy deployment out of the area if you agree to some sort of deal, some sort of oil deal with us, which means there's going to be some kind of backdoor deal with him because he's very transactional. He doesn't do anything unless it's beneficial for him.
I do have a question, actually, that I think needs to be asked on that. We're talking about oil in Venezuela. We've got the Ukrainian-Russian war now that, oh boy, there's a lot of oil over in that land. Do you think there is an end game that is maybe just being backworked, through back channels, in terms of the fact that he might want Venezuela and Colombia or anything like that, but also the fact that there might be some potential partnerships with Russia, with Vladimir Putin, should they get that extra land they're looking for in the Crimea and
they're
get that oil?
In the enriched
we know he
minerals.
likes the Saudis. He's very good friends with the Saudi Arabians. I mean, he just rolled out the red carpet. He got a plane that's under question right now on the way. Kind of curious if maybe that is something that comes to fruition for him.
It's the enriched minerals and the precious metals that Ukraine has. And Trump is basically giving Russia the Ukraine.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing...
we could have kept it away a long time ago.
Peace negotiations with Russia. They're sending Jared Kushner and some real estate developer to talk...
You talking about Steve? Yeah.
Yeah, to talk peace negotiations with Russia. Not having Zelensky involved, but again, transactional.
And Zelensky came out and said that he wanted to speak with U.S. officials in the United States prior to Thanksgiving, that deadline that they originally had given, and nothing. He wasn't able to get that. He wanted to. So, I mean, okay, that was my final question there. I know we're kind of wrapping things up there, but it's something certainly to look forward to in terms of reporting because it makes our lives easier.
Yeah.
It's certainly not something to look forward to if you're a U.S. citizen or any member of the world because, I mean, honestly, with Venezuela, that's going to be interesting, and it seems like it's going to be unchecked. I don't have any faith in the United States judicial system looking into it, and it doesn't seem like there's any international courts that are taking anything seriously there. So I'd imagine that's going to be null and void. That'll be just fine for them.
It'll be in a news cycle for a little bit, and then he'll do something else just to keep us away from the Epstein files.
Well, because the Epstein files are going to be released now, we do know. Well, in whatever capacity.
In 6 days, they should.
And so, honestly, I wonder though too if the Capitol shooting is another distraction domestically. You've got some people that have just died or were shot. Young people. You can cause a lot of anger from that. Might be an easy distraction for a natural distraction for the Trump administration. The way that, and I say natural only in the way that they go about things, but. We will definitely stay updated on that. I will see you next week.
Yep.
Monday night, or I think Monday night probably will
is our night.
We'll be doing that's every single night with the Observatory with Reuben and Collin here.
And again, please like and subscribe. It really helps us.
Thumbs up. It does help us a lot. You have a good rest of your night and good luck.